He was once known as the Prince of Darkness. Today, Lord Mandelson was escorted into the light, taken by 3 police officers with body-worn cameras from his multi-million-pound home in North London and into the back seat of a modest Ford Focus. One of the most powerful figures in British politics can now do little more than submit to his arrest. As he was driven away to be questioned, the Metropolitan Police confirmed the news both he and his former boss in Downing Street had surely been dreading. Officers have arrested a 72-year-old man on suspicion of misconduct in public office, their statement read. He was arrested at an address in Camden and has been taken to a London police station for interview. This follows search warrants at 2 addresses in the Wiltshire and Camden areas.
Do you deceive the Prime Minister, Mr Mandelson?
Lord Mandelson has been seen at homes in both places following his sacking by the Prime Minister.
This is the defining moment of Keir Starmer's premiership. Watching the man who he appointed to the highest position in our diplomatic service getting arrested by police, I think is an image that's going to stay with all of us for many, many years to come.
The pair had looked so pleased when he was appointed our ambassador to Washington. Only one of them knew the secrets of how it could all unravel. Mandelson's links to Epstein had long been clear, but Number 10 claimed the depth of his relationship with the convicted paedophile was new information. 7 months into the job, Keir Starmer was forced to sack his ambassador and offer a public apology.
I am sorry. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him.
Today's arrest is in relation to his job under the last Labour government. As Business Secretary, did Peter Mandelson abuse his position to tip off Epstein about sensitive information? Emails show him allegedly telling the financier about the sale of public assets. What saleable assets, asks Epstein. Land, property, I guess, comes Mandelson's reply. The EU's €500 billion bailout should be announced tonight, he appears to warn him in another, as well as giving advance notice of Gordon Brown's resignation. Finally got him to go today, he seems to boast, around 9 hours before the market's sensitive information was made public.
Lord Peter Mandelson is the subject of an ongoing live police investigation.
Just half an hour before Mandelson's arrest, the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister was promising MPs even more papers will soon be published if the police investigation allows.
The government expects to be able to publish the first tranche of documents very shortly in early March.
Lord Mandelson has already resigned from Parliament. Tonight he technically still keeps his title as he faces questioning in custody, though it's unlikely police will be offering any deference to the peer who for once is the less powerful man at the table. Paul Brand, News at 10.
Well, let's get the latest live now. Sam is outside Lord Mandelson's house tonight. Rachel's at New Scotland Yard and Harry is in Downing Street. Sam, let's chat to you first. What's the latest from there tonight?
Well, Tom, this is one of the most exclusive addresses in London, on the edge of the world-famous Regent's Park, and where just a few hours ago Peter Mandelson was led away from his multi-million-pound townhouse. As we've seen, the former business secretary, the former ambassador to America, flanked by plainclothes officers. It appears that he wasn't actually put into handcuffs at any point before being put into the back of that unmarked vehicle. This all happened at around 4:45 this evening here. He still hasn't returned. We believe he is still being held at an unnamed police station. Well, police began searching this house here in London and another of Mandelson's properties in Wiltshire on the 6th of February after those allegations emerged as a result of those documents released as part of the Epstein files. Since then, camera crews have been camped outside here waiting for a moment that came this evening, one of the most significant arrests of a major political figure in modern British history.
OK, Sam, thank you very much indeed. Well, the Metropolitan Police put out a statement after Peter Mandelson's arrest. In it, they said the suspect had been taken for interview at a London police station. And tonight, we have cameras outside several London police stations right across the capital. And our correspondent Rachel Younger is at the Met's HQ. Rachel, what will be happening to Peter Mandelson this evening in whichever prison department police department, I should say, he is in?
Yeah, well, because there's a standard process for anyone who is arrested in England and Wales, we can tell you what he will have been experiencing. Whatever police custody suite he is being held in, he will have been taken to a cell. Now, despite his title, there will be no special treatment. It will be furnished with little more than a bed and a toilet. And police will be taking his photograph, they will be taking his fingerprints, and they also have the right to take a DNA sample, either from his hair or using a mouth swab. He will be asked whether he has any medical issues that need attending to, and then he will be left in that rather sparse cell until police are ready to question him. Like any other suspect, he'll have been told he has the right to free legal advice, or that police can contact his own solicitor. Now, they may well tell him not to say anything when the interviews begin, but he'll be read that standard police caution. It's one we are all rather familiar with, isn't it, from television police dramas, but it will be feeling rather different when it is directed to him. And the police officer in charge will say, you do not have to say anything to Lord Mandelson, but it may harm your defence if you do not, and if you rely on something if you do not mention something you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Now, it's standard for police in England and Wales to be given 24 hours to question a suspect. We are now, just over 5 hours in. So for both the detectives leading this investigation and for Peter Mandelson himself, the clock tonight is ticking.
OK, Rachel, thank you very much indeed. Well, let's talk to Harry, who's in Downing Street. Harry, let's be honest, this wasn't like a totally unexpected development given everything we've seen in the previous months, but it was still startling and deeply humbling, not only for Peter Mandelson, but actually for the government. Where does it leave Keir Starmer tonight, do you think?
Well, this is really bad for Keir Starmer because just over 5 months ago, Peter Mandelson was the UK's top diplomat representing British interests in the United States. Tonight, he's been arrested. And although what he's been arrested on suspicion of in those emails to Jeffrey Epstein only emerged actually after Keir Starmer had sacked him, it does underline what a spectacularly bad judgment it was by the Prime Minister to bring Peter Mandelson back into frontline politics. And the other thing about this is, look, there's months and months more of this to run. Next week, we could start to get the first documents, emails, WhatsApp messages related to Peter Mandelson's appointments. And then in the months after that, we don't know for how long, other documents related to Peter Mandelson's time as ambassador. And that could be highly embarrassing for the Prime Minister, for other senior cabinet ministers and for senior officials in government. And I think the other point is, look, Peter Mandelson has played a huge role in the Labour Party over the last 4 decades or so. On several times, he's tried to drag the party away from those on the left. And watching that debate in Parliament today about the release of those documents related to Mandelson's appointment, you could see MPs on the left of the party feeling as though they're in the ascendancy at the moment. And should Keir Starmer be forced to step aside at some point in the near future, those MPs on the left of the party will make the argument that he shouldn't be replaced by anyone from Mandelson's wing of the party. They will say that the person that should take over from Keir Starmer should be one of us.
OK, Harry, thank you very much indeed. Well, the so-called Prince of Darkness became known as a comeback king. His various appointments often seemed against all odds, yet the scandals surrounding the extent of his ties to Jeffrey Epstein mean his brief tenure in charge of the British Embassy in Washington was surely his final public chapter.
He was the ultimate political operator, the Prince of Spin, a strategist in the shadows who helped reshape Labour and British politics itself. Peter Mandelson built a career on comebacks through controversy, resignations and repeated returns to power. But long scrutinised links to Jeffrey Epstein have now delivered a fall not even he can outmanoeuvre. As one of the chief architects of New Labour, he helped deliver a landslide victory. Yet his story would become a cycle of influence, scrutiny and survival. Just a year later, his first resignation.
Sir,
a secret home loan from ministerial colleague Jeffrey Robinson. Within a year, he was back, appointed Northern Ireland Secretary. Then, in 2001, forced out again.
I have said to the Prime Minister that I wish to leave the government, and he has accepted that.
Allegations he intervened over a passport application for the Hinducha brothers. An inquiry later cleared him, but the damage was done. His anger at being cast aside spilled out on the campaign trail as he fought to hold on to Hartlepool.
And they underestimated me because I am a fighter and not a quitter.
2 years later, he left Parliament for Brussels. As EU Trade Commissioner, he built a reputation as a formidable global negotiator. Back in 2007, another unlikely return. Gordon Brown brought him in as Business Secretary at the height of the financial crisis, elevating him to the Lords. But admiration and suspicion have always followed him. Despite years of questions about his association with Jeffrey Epstein, he was still entrusted with sensitive roles. Recently released emails reveal the extent of a friendship that continued even after Epstein's conviction for being a paedophile.
What a beautiful accent.
Most recently tasked with building bridges to Donald Trump's administration, serving as Britain's man in Washington. A decision now placing the current Prime Minister's judgment under intense scrutiny.
None of his previous resignations involve this level of public ignominy and arguably disgrace. And that's why this time is of a different order of magnitude entirely.
After being forced from office 3 times across 4 decades, this is a spectacular fall from grace for Peter Mandelson. From the highest positions of political power to being led out by plainclothes police as a suspect under arrest. Sejal Karia, News at 10.
And Paul is here to talk about all this. Look, Paul, really, as I said to Harry, this wasn't unexpected, yet it somehow managed to end up being incredibly dramatic and somehow shocking. What are your own reflections?
Yeah, I think it's fair enough to think it's pretty shocking and pretty extraordinary. I mean, from life here to life in prison, potentially. That is the maximum sentence if he indeed is charged and convicted of misconduct in public office. It is incredible to think just this time last year he was being paraded around Washington as the representative of the United Kingdom. What a catastrophic miscalculation in judgment that now appears to have been for Keir Starmer, not just because Lord Mandelson had these links to Jeffrey Epstein, his friendship with him, but because potentially he was trying to enrich him. That's the allegation tonight, that he was trying to help him out, tip him off about sensitive information. One MP texted me tonight, one Labour backbencher, simply OMG, though the ruder version of that expression, if you get what I mean by that. They are aghast again at the judgment here from Keir Starmer. We heard there in several of those reports that this is unprecedented for Peter Mandelson. I think this is unprecedented for all of us tonight, though, Tom. The scale of this scandal, how deep it reaches into the heart of government, how deep it reaches into the monarchy too. And as others have said, this is going to run for months, potentially years, particularly if there are charges.
OK, Paul, thank you very much indeed. Well, it was only on Thursday that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was himself arrested, also on suspicion of misconduct in public office. And while he remains under investigation, the calls for him to be stripped of the last vestiges of royal privilege only increase. Australia today signalled it would support removing Andrew from the line of succession. And Chris is here. We should take a wager on the first day of this year when we're not talking about this scandal, but it rolls on. It continues to go.
It does, doesn't it? And you've got, like, on that side of the desk, if I can put it like that, you've got one criminal investigation into misconduct in public office, and there's another. It's still ongoing, this criminal investigation for Andrew, even though he was released with that dramatic photo I'm sure everyone has seen by now. But if you look at his house today, Royal Lodge, you will see that the police, Thames Valley Police, are still doing their searches there. I mean, I was quite gobsmacked, I have to say, on Friday when you could see police officers there with like the blue gloves on carrying out the searches. And if you look at the size of Royal Lodge, you can see why it might be taking them more than just a weekend to go through everything they need to do there. But you mentioned about this removing Andrew from the line of succession. We spoke about it on this show on Friday. The thing that might slow it all down is that not only does it have to happen in the UK, but every one of the 14 realms, what's a realm? You're going to tell me where the king is still the head of state. They all have to approve it. But Keir Starmer today got some support from the Australian Prime Minister, who said, look, if you're doing that, you fully on have my support. So we need the other 13 now to go through. But this is what the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, said when asked about the line of succession earlier.
Well, it's important that we let the police investigation run its course. But I can tell you the government is looking at options in relation to succession. I think it's important that we do that with all options on the table.
So lots to do, lots of countries to persuade, but none of it's going to happen until the police investigation has completed in whatever way that goes.
OK, Chris, thank you very much indeed.